think there's a lot of people up on Capitol Hill who kind of wonder if they benefited from a little shaving of votes here or there. We don't know because the elections are such a mess. We don't know who truly has been elected. We have to go back to election day. We need to go back to paper ballots. And then you hear the other side say, it would take forever to hand count. No, it doesn't. You can have the election results that night. President Trump obviously was such a transformational figure, a strong, powerful person. He was not part of the approved, leaders that they would allow to win an election. And when he managed to get through in 2016, they started with the Russiagate. They started with the character assassination, try to bring him down with scandal after scandal that were made up. When that didn't work and the people still followed him and loved him and wanted him to continue on, oh, wow, out of the blue comes COVID. Wow. Oh, wow. Then I guess we needed to have the mail-in ballots. And that allowed them to then rig the 2020 election. And then what allowed that election to be ratified and certified was January 6th, which is a Fedsurrection. We're seeing more and more evidence of that. And now we're starting to see we're starting to see the real reason they didn't want President Trump. Look how he's changing the world landscape of taking down a Maduro-like figure who actually has been behind the rigged elections with many of the electronic voting machines finding a way back into Venezuela. We're about to learn a lot about that, I believe, a lot about the CIA's involvement in or lack of doing anything about stopping, even though they had information, rigged elections. We're about to find out a lot. And let's just take a small microcosm of what's really happening. Look at the fraud that was unveiled in Minnesota. Nick Shirley, an incredible citizen journalist, goes there and in one afternoon uncovers $111 million in fraud. And, all of a sudden now Minnesota is dealing with riots and they're dealing with unrest because of the ICE situation. They don't want us examining the fraud, the fraudulent behavior, who's behind it. And you mentioned Republicans who have done nothing about it. Remember, there's a lot of people. It wasn't just elections stolen for Joe Biden with a bogus 81 million votes. There's a lot of other people who are sitting in office right now who rigged elections, and these terrible machines and this terrible apparatus we have that moves our elections got them into office. There's a lot of people
sitting. Are we talking about the governor of Georgia?
I'm talking about people here in Washington, D.C., where I am right now. I think there's a lot of people up on Capitol Hill who kind of wonder if they benefited from a little shaving of votes here or there. We don't know because the elections are such a mess. We don't know who truly has been elected. And this is why we have to have major reform, Eric. We have to go back to election day. We need to go back to paper ballots, get rid of the machines, hand counting. And then you hear the other side say, it would take forever to hand count. No, it doesn't. You can have the election results that night. And then when they make that argument, I say, oh, you mean it'll take longer than the 9, 10, 13 days it has been taking us to count elections? They have no argument for us wanting secure elections except to throw complete fabrications out. It'd be too expensive. Actually, they've made our elections more and more and more expensive. It would take too long. No, they're the ones who are telling us we should never expect to have election results on election night anymore. It's going to take 7, 10, 12, 13 days. They have no arguments because everything they've done has led to the system we're in, which we can't be certain that the people that are sitting in office are the ones that were truly elected.
You didn't bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. You ran for Senate. You ran recently, and it was my sense that the election was stolen from you. Are you allowed to talk about that at all?
I talk about whatever I want because I still have freedom of speech. But yes, I mean, obviously the 22 election when I ran for governor against a real dunce who was just part of the system. It was so obviously rigged, that election. I mean, remember they had to shut down the voting. 60% of the machines didn't work and the polling locations didn't work on election day when everybody was showing up. If that wasn't an indication something was wrong. But then fast forward to 24, President Trump won in such a huge historic way. I think he actually won even bigger. But they stole and robbed from us a bunch of Senate seats and congressional seats. And I will believe that until the day I die. I did not fight it because I understand that the courts were corrupt in Arizona. I understand that it's incredibly expensive. I'm still paying lots of money in legal fees, and I'm still financially paying for the fight that I put up in the governor's race. But they want us to believe that Ruben Gallego, a member, his family is a cartel family. His dad is a cartel drug trafficker. They want us to believe that the people, and he's an open borders guy, of Arizona voted for this little guy who's been disastrous to the tune that they want us to believe he got more votes than Kamala Harris, which was the Democrat presidential candidate. And they want us to believe that he almost got as many votes as President Trump. This is absurd. President Trump did huge in Arizona. I think that 99.999% of the people who voted for President Trump cast their vote for me. It took days upon days upon days to count the ballots in Arizona. In addition to that, they were finding every day we'd wake up and they'd go, oh, we found 9,000 more votes down in Yuma County. Surprise. We found new votes in Pima County. This is, we just can't have elections run this way. So I never conceded that election. I think I truly was one of the more popular political candidates Arizona has ever seen. And if you ask the people on the ground, they would say that. And I'm not trying to be boastful. I'm just a populist candidate, and I love the people of Arizona, and they recognize that in me. And, just as I will never stay quiet when we have elections that are run like a banana republic, I'm never going to concede something that I did not lose. And I don't believe I lost those elections.
Well, and of course you shouldn't. We have to keep talking because there's so many people, Kari, that still don't get this. And some of them are sweet people who have very naively followed the mainstream narrative. Many of them are ding-dongs. Many of them are just unable to kind of break through. They're hanging out with the wrong people. Just the other day, the formerly Christian singer, I don't know how she describes herself, but Amy Grant put out a song lamenting how everything broke down. January 6th was this, insurrection, and it's so sad and whatever. And I thought, I don't know what to say to somebody like that, except to say that what a ding dong. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say that she's a evil, but there are many people like that. They think of themselves as nice people, and they have not heard most of what you and I have heard or what we talk about. They're basically getting their news and their information from other sources. And so there's so many people in this country who still don't know, yes, the election was stolen. Yes, climate change, most of that is a preposterous hoax. There's so many narratives that have been foisted on the American people through decades. And what we're doing right now is we're living through a revolution where people are waking up day by day. People who are on the fence are seeing one more thing to finally push them over and say, you know what, I didn't vote for Trump but what I'm seeing right now doesn't make sense. I don't see the people that I voted for being rational. What we just saw. I mean, I wanted to talk for a minute about these riots or protests or whatever they are. It's really shocking against ICE agents trying to do their job. And I think Trump said it a couple nights ago, and I've been saying it, that, ladies and gentlemen, we had an election. Donald Trump was elected by we the people, and we abide by our elections. So if you didn't vote for him, he's still your president. And what people elected him to do was to deport many of the people that are here illegally, and he is now doing that. And if you don't like it, next time get a better candidate, get somebody better than Kamala Harris, and we can, duke this out in the election. But they don't seem to accept the will of the people. And that's part of what we're talking about here, right? Is that there are people that say, you know what, this whole quaint idea you have of the American people elect somebody to represent them, we don't buy that. We're just going to do what we want. So it's really a power struggle at this point.
It truly is. I think there's some people who are just innocently caught up in it, like they believe what they're seeing on certain news sources. I don't know if Amy Grant is one of those people who's just kind of innocently caught up in it because she just believes that stuff, and she's naive and maybe gullible. But I also think there's a lot of people who are in on it. I mean, I'm talking people who are in the mainstream media. I'm
Oh yeah.
talking people who are part of Hollywood, people who, are actors and famous people, people who are in the political world. And I think there's just a lot of controlled agents in this, they've got blackmail material on them, and now is their time to step up and produce the song or get in front of the cameras and say something incendiary toward the president or toward his followers. This is a very corrupt system, and it operates on blackmail. And when this is some of the reasons they didn't want people like President Trump or me in office, because there is no blackmail material on me. They couldn't bribe me. They don't have blackmail material on me. And so if they have an agent that they can control because they have blackmail on them, and they have somebody who's running, who's just for the people, and is going to get to DC or the state capitol and work for the people, and nobody controls that individual, that's a very dangerous thing for this corrupt system. To have folks like a President Trump, where he doesn't have dirt. He's lived in the public eye. I mean, we've known everything about President Trump. There's nothing new being revealed. Oh, wow, we didn't know that about him. It's all been out there. And same with me. And this is why they have to stop people. But I don't know if there's just a lot of gullible people. I think it's a little bit of a mix. I personally know people who watch CNN religiously. They believe everything they see on that. And it's so sad because it's torn families apart. It's torn relationships apart. And I really long for the day that we get kind of through this reveal. I think there'll be a great reveal of all of the corruption and all of the lies. And then we can work on kind of healing our country, bringing people back together again, because it's a shame what's happened. It's been a tough revolution, as you say.
I do want to say that I think we have to be realistic. A lot of times, even you and I have bought into this narrative of we need healing. And of course, part of that is correct. But at some point, you're going to have a dedicated opposition that doesn't want healing. I mean, when we won the revolution, when George Washington won at Yorktown, and then we signed a treaty in 1783, there were still many, many, many people who they weren't going to go along with that. They still wanted to side with the king, with King George III. And so they left. They went to Canada. They went wherever they went because they were not willing to go along with it. And you find this, that there are people that they're going to be at war. They don't really care who wins. And so I think we have to be realistic that there's some people that are knowingly dedicated to the overthrow of the West, to the overthrow of biblical values. They're dedicated to that.